Okay. You can start.
Yeah. So, I think we have to look at the author's background, because back in his time, we know that he was homosexual, and in his time, it was like a crime being homosexual, and it was actually paid with imprisonment for 2 years. So. I think at the moment of analyzing the story, you have to take into account that fact. So.
Do you think that being an homosexual was the main reason why he decided to marry his wife? To hide the fact that he was homosexual and not going to prison, as you mentioned?
Maybe it was like a type of situation to cover his reality, I could say, because when he married his wife, he wasn't writing a lot. He was like stuck,
yes.
like literally speaking, and after like 10 years or more, he met Lord Alfred, who was going to be his lover, and then he starts writing, and he wrote like four plays, I think, or books, I don't remember. So having meeting him obviously had an effect on his career, because it boosted it. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think that that's one of the reasons why he got married, because in the time that Oscar wrote the play, it was kind of inappropriate. It was kind of illegal or badly seen to be homosexual. So relating the background author with the book he wrote, I think Oscar was having a double life, just as the character of his book, because maybe he didn't want to be known as homosexual. So when he was married, he was having a double life. I mean, in that moment he was knowing Lord Alfred, so I think he tried to interpret his real story in the book.
Yeah, I think you can see it reflected on this Bunbury thing, of the characters living a double life, because maybe he also led a double life, with his marriage and all, and I think it's reflected on the story.
Yeah, but I think that it's not really related, because Oscar has a double life and he has two lovers, his wife and Lord Alfred, but the characters in the story did not have two lovers. I mean, they were playing different, about
people.
Being different people, but they just loved one person, I mean, even though they were different persons. Yes. So I mean, I think that's a big difference.
Maybe it's not really like directly related, but it's influenced by the fact of him living a double life.
Yes.
Yeah. And
what do you think about the name of the book?
The name of the book?
Related to the theme of the book.
I think that refers to the historical point, because at that moment having a name, a last name, was very important. You see, you can reflect that on the fact that, for example, when people get married, women get the last name of his husband.
Yeah.
So that is very important also. You see, so that was we can see in the book, because Wendelin's aunt didn't
Lady
want
Bride, no?
yeah didn't want him to marry the girl because of its name. You see,
Yeah.
Because he didn't have like an important
Name.
last name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he was picked on the street.
yes.
Mm.
So that's important, I think.
But especially the word, the pun that the author makes of the importance of being earnest. Because I think we can see that at the end when he says, I can finally see the importance of being earnest, it's hard to determine whether if he's talking on the story about the name, because you know, it was like a fiancé name, because the girls loved him because his name was Earnest, because it inspired trust, or because of the fact of being earnest at the adjective, you know, of being like direct and honest.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, it's hard to determine whether he's talking about of being actually honest throughout the story, or the importance of the actual name. You know, it's hard to determine what he was referring to.
Mm-hmm.
I think in that part he referred to the adjective of being earnest, because even though Jack finally got together with his lover, the double life that he had in that moment brought him a lot of problems. So it would be better to have a real life without all of those problems.
To have been honest, and he would have avoided the whole misunderstanding of the name.
What else about the book?
Well, I think that there is a relation about what we just said, the double life of the author. In the case of he wrote another book called An Ideal Husband, and it was released 1 month before the importance of being earnest. So I think in the moment that he wrote that book, the importance of being earnest, maybe he was having a double life, because he had written the other book called The Ideal Husband. So I think he was having a double life in that moment with Lord Alfred.
There was like a conflict between being an ideal husband, you know, and loving his wife, or being happy and loving Lord Alfred. And maybe that conflict was represented throughout his stories. It was like a way of expressing that conflict that was in his mind. So, yeah, I get your point.
I think that maybe we can relate the story with nowadays. I mean, taking it from
Like to this
actual
context.
moments. Yeah. Do you think it's that those kind of things still happen?
Yeah.
Like people having a double life
Definitely,
because
yes.
they're hiding something. I
It's
also
not.
think so.
It's not seen as a bad thing to be homosexual, but there's still this prejudice.
Prejudice.
Prejudice. This prejudice, you know, of a lot of ignorant people, and there are homosexual people who are afraid maybe to declare that they are homosexual just because of what other people might say. So maybe it's not seen as it was seen before, and it's not also paid with imprisonment, but it's still something that affects homosexual people. So yeah, I think it still happens.
Yeah, I think that this still happens, but it's not so dangerous as it used to be. But I think there are still some people that look down on homosexual.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at the time it was so extreme. Because people were taken into prison
Yeah.
for being homosexual. Nowadays, you don't see that
Right.
kind of things.
No, it's not a crime.
No, it's not a crime being homosexual, but people still like get ashamed about that thing.
Yeah, nowadays you don't go to prison, but or you are not sent to prison, but maybe you can be hit by some people on the street
Yeah.
because of your
Or they
Well,
can
that
say
sounds
things.
yeah.
Yeah, Florida was really radical. I mean, that caused them to leaving his country and then dying in complete poverty after being successful as a successful writer, just because of the fact that he was homosexual and had to spend 2 years in prison. He then was, I don't know, looked down maybe by people, and he had to leave the country and die in poverty. So it was really radical before, but it still happens today.
I think we covered the three points.
I don't know how much time.
I don't know.
Are you ready?
Do you think so?
Okay.
Do you know how much time did we speak?
Let me see.